Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Dukesbrough for another update video on the progress of this beautiful medieval city here. So strap in and join me because this episode's gonna be a fun one. In the last episode, we did manage to finish up the poorest section of the city here, which is known as the Westborough slums. And if you missed it, I highly recommend you go back and check that episode out. I had a lot of fun working on that one. But in today's episode, I thought we'd change it up just a little bit and maybe do some building work outside the walls of the city here. And as you guys no doubtly know by the thumbnail, we will be adding in a fishing village. So here, just northwest on the map of the city is where I went ahead and laid down some of the plans of how I generally want the flow of this small fishing hamlet, or village if you will, to be. And it will be just a small little fishing village with maybe 8 to 10 buildings or structures. Of course, we'll have a bridge that will connect to the city and a simple wooden fence that will extend a bit into the lake to serve as a little bit of fortification for this village. But anyways guys, that's the gist of it. I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's go ahead and jump into the time lapse and lore. Located on the outskirts of Dukesbrough, making your way through the streets of the slums and just beyond its most northern gatehouse alongside the shore of the Great Lake Gellam, there stands a small fishing hamlet of skilled anglers, renowned for their fishing prowess. This small village of fishermen drive and supply almost 4/4 of the city's fishing industry. These men and women live relatively easy and laid-back lives compared to most, spending the early hours of the morning checking their lines and traps, gathering the morning catch. By the afternoon, anglers are steadily recasting lines, diligently working hard to fill out the remaining bulk of their daily quota, whereas then their catch can be gathered and loaded up in crates or barrels and hauled off to market in a hurry to be sold as fresh catch to the eager buyer, alongside making the necessary repairs to their small boats and fishing equipment. When the evening comes, the whole village scrambles to reset lines and traps and recast their nets before nightfall, with a great anticipation for the next morning's catch. By law, it is illegal for anyone to fish out of Gellam at night, due to that particular catch not meeting the Lord's standard in quality and freshness that can be possibly sold for a profit at the markets the following day, and to also effectively cut back on poaching. Although Lake Gellam may seemingly supply the city and the people who can afford it with a variety of fish, though to maintain and protect this valuable resource from overexhaustion by law, no one would be allowed to fish from the lake without permissions from the lord of the castle. This permission would be granted to ones who have proven their fishing prowess and are active members of the Anglers Guild, in which they would receive a license signed by the guild's committee, endorsed with the lord's seal, along with a mandatory tax that must be paid at the time the license is issued, and also must pay a tax to have the license renewed at the start of every new fishing season to the guild, in which the fishermen would also be obligated to pay a percentage of their income profits from sales. This tax would be collected by the guild to fill the lord's coffers. This license would not only allow the fishing out of the Gellam Lake up to a certain quota throughout the available fishing season, but also it would grant them the right to sell their catch for a profit at market, and also the right to take on apprentices, up to 2. Anyone caught fishing without the appropriate credentials will be labeled as a poacher and would face severe punishment. There are 2 calendar seasons a year for commercial fishing out of Gellam. Each season consists of 4 months, whereas the off-season also consists of a 4-month cooldown, ensuring the fish of the lake can thrive and reproduce. Although licensed anglers can fish out of the lake to feed themselves and their household during this off-season. During the off-season, fishermen will take on odd jobs to supplement their lost income during this time. Traditionally, to mark the coming start of each new fishing season, a contest is held amongst the fishing community a week before the commercial season starts to see who can catch the largest fish. The winner of the contest would be rewarded by the guild with a copper brooch shaped as a fish with bragging rights, and also, most importantly, have his license renewal fee waived for that season. The prize catch would be then delivered to the castle to be served as the fitting meal for the lord, in which an invitation would be extended to him to dine as a guest of honor in the lord's dining hall that evening. Alright, we are back, and I hope you guys enjoyed that time-lapse and lore. In case any of you are wondering, I am using a different shader than what I usually use. I just felt like kind of mixing things up a little bit. But anyways, check this out. This looks really cool, I think, and obviously some things were added post-time-lapse, like the trees here, and a lot of little details for story effect, and of course the biggest being this little cottage that sits here at the edge of town. And as we move on through the tour, I'll explain exactly what that place is and why I decided to put it there. But again, I really love the feel of this place. I think I didn't do too bad of a job bringing in those kind of rural fishing village vibes. At the very least, I would at least hope that you guys think so. You guys can let me know in the comment section if I got the atmosphere right and if I nailed it. But anyways, let's go ahead and land on the ground here so we can check this place out a bit. So in the time lapse, we put up this fence or wall here, you know, just going along with the fortified city theme we've got going, just to add a little bit of defense and protection to the village. So I really just wanted to add in this wooden wall as an extension of the city's defenses. Obviously it wouldn't offer much in protection from, say, an attacking army, but then again, I don't really think that an attacking army would necessarily attack the city from this side anyways, in my opinion. Reasons being, although the walls is made of wood and can be easily overcome, it would still act as a barrier to slow down an attack, while the city guards can fend from safety from the walls of the city and its battlements. And I know, obviously, attackers can just go around the wall instead of trying to go through it, but then they'll have to traverse through the water here, which would be, in most cases, a big no-no. Those soldiers coming through this area with armor and heavy equipment on would easily muck up the lake bed, and which would cause sinkholes and tripping hazards, and they will have to risk drowning because the lake would get pretty deep here. And yes, they could always have boats, but something like that would be costly and probably wouldn't be practical anyways. Besides, it's just a fortified city, and honestly, it wouldn't necessarily mean the end of the world if attackers did manage to get in. But I did do my due diligence to make sure I did add in some fortifications. As you can see, I added in this dry moat so attackers can easily climb up on a bridge to gain access to the city in case the defenders did want to close it off and lock up all the gates. I would think that this village here would have to worry less about an attacking army and more so of a smaller group of bandits that would want to try and raid them, which wouldn't be easy for them either. Overall, simple defenses, it looks good and accomplishes what it's meant to accomplish. But anyways, with that long explanation, let's go ahead and head back and start the actual walking from where the time lapse started. So, this is the way into the fishing village. If you're coming from inside the city, you will need to travel through the slums here to reach the northernmost gatehouse, which is right in front of us, which obviously would lead out to the village. Real quick, looking right back up, as you can see, the gatehouse here does have some fortifications, so it can be defended. So now, we have this building here right in front of us, and its purpose is to make life a little bit easier for the people who live below in the village. So the person that lives here and is in charge, like let's say a foreman, would charge, say, the fishermen a tax for the privilege to use the crane, as you can see. And I'll go ahead and show you guys. Now, I haven't got around to staging the insides of this place, but anyways, so the fishermen would obviously have a whole lot of things and loads and crates and barrels that they would bring up from the docks that they have harvested and gathered together. And so, you know, it would be a lot of work hauling all that load up these stairs and stuff like that on a cart. And, you know, they may even lose some cargo on the way up. So instead of risking that, what they would do is they would pay again for the privilege to use that crane that you see. And so then they would bring their cart right up here on this stone platform, and then they would offload it and then load it onto this crane, and then they would, you know, then easily walk up these stairs with their cart and then come up here, and then they would haul it up to where they can offload it here, and then obviously safely offload it here, and then bring it in and then put it back on their cart, and then they're off to the markets to sell their produce without the fear of maybe dropping and losing any of their precious cargo that they've worked so hard to catch. Plus, this way it would be more time efficient, and obviously dealing with fish, that would be especially important. So let's go ahead and we'll make our way back down this road here. So now we come to this place here, and as you can probably already tell, it is the tanner's yard. And now, for a long time, I've been kind of wrecking my brain trying to figure out where I can place and where I would want to put a tanner's lodge or whatever within the city, or where it would make the most sense. Because due to the conditions and circumstances surrounding the tanners or leather workers and how they operate, I just couldn't think of a proper place to put them. But luckily, after building up this little village just a bit, it just clicked and made perfect sense to place the tanner's yard here. Because of the extreme smells and the raw hides they dealt in, tanners would mostly stay on the outskirts of town in most cases, and also they would have to live near a water source. And so again, it just made so much sense to just go ahead and place the tanners here to kind of fill out the rest of this space, add some depth and character to the build. And as you see, we have lots of skins and hides out here just tanning in the sun. Really nice build. It really came together. I really love how this whole the whole feel of this place. And now over here, as you guys can see, we have some tools around. Right here we have, I can't remember what you would call this, but usually what they would have in medieval times would be a pole or a beam, and it would sit at a tilt, and they would drape a skin over it or a hide, and then they would scrape off the fur and just completely clean off the fat, and then, you know, get it prepared to actually go into a pool of liquid, which then helps to tan the leather when they stretch it and leave it out in the sun. So that's what I was trying to do with this. This is actually a victory mod block, and this was the closest thing I could get to visually recreating what they would have used in medieval times. But the yard here came out pretty cool, and I'm happy with it. So let's go ahead and move on. So now I think we'll actually go ahead and start checking out the fishing village. So we're gonna make our way up onto the docks here. And now in front of each cabin we'll have a little pier or dock where fishermen can fish off of. And as you can see here, we have this funny looking fishing rod. Best I could do to create something I thought at least looks good enough. I like it, it works. So now I want to show you guys an interior. We won't be looking at any other, just this one. I just want to give you guys an idea of what the cabins look like inside. So stepping in, we come into this small little quaint little space where of course we have a stove where the fishermen can prepare their meals right here. And of course they have a station where they can prepare some food. And then they have a couple of beds for maybe the fisherman and his apprentice. And then of course they just have a lot of other little decorations around the room here just to make it feel like home for them. And then in the center of the room, because it would get generally cold and drafty, we have this brazier on the floor where they can light it, just to make the room a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more bearable through those cold winter nights or just cold nights in general. And of course, we have a brazier hanging from the beam here. And then of course, the beam work up there looks pretty cool too, I think. Really realistic. I like how it all came out in here. But again, I just want to show you guys the interiors for just one of the cabins so you guys have an idea of what they look like in the inside. And then of course, another little detail, we have these fish that are hanging out to dry. Possibly they are the fisherman's personal stash. And then back here we just have some supplies and stuff like that all strewn about. You guys know me, I really like to create that atmosphere. So of course we have lots of things like nets hanging and just fish out, just drying out in the sun. And then over here we just have some more stuff being stored. And another cool little detail that I added, kind of a little story here. Inside the water we have a lot of these little pots, or I guess you can call them traps. You know, the fishermen would place those to catch maybe shellfish and other fish that will swim in, along with these nets that are out here too that would catch fish. As you can see, this little pool of salmon here, better be careful or they may get caught in those nets. And then of course we have some boats here. You guys have seen these in the time lapse, and I went back and just kind of fixed them a little bit to make them look like something that looks more of a boat. I like how they came out. And as you see, the fishermen are harvesting their catch and stuff like that. Really cool details. And also you can see the seagulls out there, because again, in a place like this, it would have lots and lots of marine life and animals, especially seagulls, because they would, you know, be looking to scavenge the fish that fall to the ground, or, you know, maybe they even try to steal some of the fish that are hanging or whatnot. So now let's go ahead and take a stroll, if you will, under the space beneath the docks here. I really did my best to add to the details to tell a story and create that atmosphere with hanging ropes and again hanging nets and laundry here and there. And as you can see here, and along with others, barnacles of decay on the bottom of the legs of the wooden beams here. And because maybe sometimes the water may rise to this level, or maybe simply because of weathering corrosion. And here we have a boat stored that maybe needs repair, and so they're just storing it here. So moving on, again we have just more nets and just more details. And here we have another boat that again, maybe it needs to be repaired, maybe it has a hole, so they're just storing it under the docks here until they can fix it. And then here we have another boat that again, maybe it's being stored here, or, you know, needing repairs or something like that. And of course we have some crates and some more nets and some more cages or traps just stored about as well. And then peeking off into the distance, we have a picturesque shot of Castle Gwynhild back there. And now moving on, we come to this contraption here. And now this is the product of a lot of research I did on what a medieval fish smoker would actually look like. And of course I found lots of other different kinds of designs, but this design in particular really spoke to me, and so I had to recreate this one into Minecraft. And it appears that I didn't really finish it properly, so I guess I have to go back and do that. But anyways, here on the ground we have some, you know, some wood so they can place in the smoker to you know, smoke. And then again we have another dock, and again another beautiful shot of Castle Gwynhild there, just sitting majestically on its mountain. I imagine it would be a beautiful sight to see for the people of the village, or maybe not. Maybe, you know, they have disdain for the Lord being able to live in such a beautiful place while everybody else kind of stays in the cabin. Anyways guys, that's it. That's the video for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, please consider liking the video, and again, drop a comment below. I really love hearing what you guys have to say about the builds that I do. And if you're maybe new to the channel and you haven't already, please strongly consider subscribing. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and getting this video out there for more people to enjoy. I would really appreciate it, and I thank you for your support. I want to thank you guys again for joining me today, and until the next time we meet, this has been The Kinder Knight, and I bid you a farewell.